What's up, guys? It is Monday, November 21st. It's 11:15 a.m. and this is the crypto newsletter. So starting off with it, this is from yesterday. Indian Central Bank on track to launch retail central bank digital currency pilot next month. So the Reserve Bank of India, the country's central bank, is finalizing the rollout of the retail digital rupee pilot. And the RBI initiated the wholesale central bank digital currency pilot on November 1st to test its usage in settling transactions in government securities, bonds. At the time, the RBI had said that retail digital rupee pilot would be launched within a month. And then as we go down here, we're seeing that the RBI wants each bank participating in the pilot to test the retail CBDC among 10,000 to 50,000 users. And the banks participating are the State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, ICICI Bank, Union Bank of India, HDFC Bank, Yes Bank, Kodak Bank, IDFC First Bank. And we've already made the connections as far as Ripple ties to some of these banks here. And we see the retail CBDC will be provided as a standalone product in the initial phase. However, the digital rupee will be eventually integrated with existing mobile and internet banking services. And then I just noticed something here. The banks participating in the CBDC trial have partnered with last mile payment service providers, right? So I had made a video, I think a couple weeks ago, but it was the last mile in payments playbook. So the last mile playbook for global payments. And then you have this, their verbiage from the Indian Central Bank, that the banks participating in the CBDC trial have partnered with last mile payment service providers. And that's where we're at. We're in the last mile here. And this is the grand finale. You can feel it coming. We've seen the destruction in the crypto space. We've seen all this narrative talk about immediate regulation. And we've seen that all these legacy institutions are actually they're ready to go. It's just that flip of the switch moment. So we are in the last mile grand finale. I believe the rest of the year is going to be nuts, as well as we're going to see big things happen by the end of Q1 of next year. So this next 3 to 6 month time frame is crucial. The grand finale is going to happen and you need to be prepared. So go to stargate-ventures.com, get your free crypto masterclass accelerator. The link will be in the bio as well too. It's going to get you prepared for this grand finale that's coming right now. So let's keep going, because Brazil's biggest bank to start offering crypto custody services next year. So next year seems like it's going to be big as far as adoption goes. I believe that we're going to see maybe regulations in December or Q1 of next year. And then immediately these institutions are going to pile in because they're ready. They really are. So maybe we'll see the regulations kick in December. I'd be surprised if they're not kicked in by the end of Q1. And then we're going to see the legacy institutions adopt these things, and we're going to see price increases due to utility and value rather than speculation. And then let us keep going to the next one, because JP Morgan's crypto wallet is now officially a registered trademark in the US. They're gearing up. They're ready. They're getting all the ducks in a row. And have we hit the final event? Was FTX the final event, or is there another one looming? That's the real question. I'd be prepared for another one looming, like the grand finale. And then at that point, it's all right, say a grand finale happens. We have one more drawdown. Everybody's nervous. They're scared. They're selling out. They're liquidated, whatever it may be. Regulations instantly are implemented, and then that could be the catalyst to get the cryptos out of this kind of rut. And then because institutions, once regulations are set in stone, there's a framework, they're just going to pile in trillions of dollars, and then it kind of just prices everybody out who was scared or got nervous around this time and sold out. So hold on tight, man, because it's going to be a wild ride until we get to that final end goal that we're all hoping for and know that is coming. All right, next up, we got Stably USD. The first native and compliant stablecoin on XRP Ledger is officially launched under the ticker MoneySign USD. You can now buy and sell XRPL Stably USD via our fiat gateway. Stably right there. Set up a Stably USD trust line in Zum or other wallet. So this is a great thing to see. I think Stably is bridging TradeFi and traditional finance and decentralized finance, the world's only stablecoin gateway with access to emerging blockchains. And then we have this. So straight from the Bank of International Settlements, we have John Cunliffe, Reflections on DeFi, Digital Currencies, and Regulations. Speech by Sir John Cunliffe, Deputy Governor of Financial Stability of the Bank of England at the Warwick Business School's Gilmore Centre Policy Forum Conference on DeFi and Digital Currencies in London. This was today. And we'll go into this. I just want to kind of make the connections here because we have Ripple at their Swell conference. I'm a big proponent that we should be regulating activity, but not technology. Dove into discussion around all things UK crypto regulatory frameworks with Ripple's Susan Friedman, I think it is, on day 2 of Ripple. So let's take a look at this.
I'm a big proponent that we should be regulating activity, but not technology. And conversations around should we be regulating NFTs, I don't think are very productive for the industry. I don't think they're productive for the wider perception, because what ends up happening is that we have unclear messaging going out to the wider public around what this is and the potential benefits it has, and we end up kind of all tied up in thinking about this thing called crypto, which we're told is volatile and dangerous and bad for consumers, and we ignore actually some of the real benefits that it can bring on a B2B level, for enterprise, for moving value around the world.
All right, so we see that as far as regulating activity, but not technology. So they don't want to hinder the benefits of the technology. They want to utilize it, but they want to hinder, or they want to regulate the activity, any kind of malicious activity in the crypto space. And then we have this: tokenizing real world assets has proven to be tremendously valuable to a number of industries because of the inherent transparency and programmability of blockchain technology. So let's hear this.
Perspective of recruiting.
The real estate industry is obviously one of the most obvious spaces or industries to bring onto chain. We felt that we could use tokens to exchange value and build a better level of trust in these relationships.
From the perspective of recruiting high-value talent for something like building a gigafactory in Nevada, we'll target and we prove that someone, for example, took a specific grade for a specific club. These have tremendous economic value.
So the proof of authenticity that, tokenizing real estate, that they hold the real estate deed, tokenizing kind of college credentials and stuff like that, it does have real world value. And then we have this from Bill Ackman. He is the CEO of Pershing Square. I believe he's like a fund manager. And he said, here it is. So that's the telephone, the internet, and crypto all share one thing in common. Each technology improves on the next in terms of its ability to facilitate fraud. As such, I was initially a crypto skeptic, but after studying some of the more interesting crypto projects, I have come to believe that crypto can enable the formation of useful business and technologies that heretofore could not be created. The ability to issue a token to incentivize participants in a venture is a powerful lever in accessing a global workforce to advance a project. The problem with crypto is that unethical promoters can create tokens simply to facilitate pump and dump schemes. It may in fact be that the vast majority of crypto coins are used for fraudulent purposes rather than for building legitimate businesses. Despite crypto ability to facilitate fraud, with the benefit of sensible regulation and oversight, crypto's technology potential for beneficent societal impact may eventually compare with the impact of the telephone and internet on the economy and society. Initially, I assumed that there is no intrinsic value to any of the tokens, and therefore they simply represent a modern-day version of Tulip Mania without the aesthetic benefits. But after examining a number of interesting crypto projects, I began to understand how a token could build intrinsic value over time. 2 examples may help to explicate my view. Helium created a global Wi-Fi network used by Linebike and others to track devices globally, as well as for other uses which benefit by access to global Wi-Fi networks. Then it goes into Helium's kind of use case, but we're starting to see the institutional legacy guys come on board and come around here. But you can see here that the regulation and oversight will be the catalyst to have them pile in with trillions of dollars. That's what is going to get the market out from this kind of rut that it's in. Once we see a implemented like regulation and oversight, a framework, I likely would speculate that we're going to pop up out of this kind of rut that we're in very quickly. All right, then if we go into this, UK may need digital pound, Bank of England's John Cunliffe says. The deputy governor discussed if the collapse of crypto firm FTX should influence the bank's decision to issue a digital pound, and showed support for the UK's effort to bring crypto into the scope of regulation. See this narrative being built right now? Yeah, so let's go into it. So the deputy governor of the Bank of England said there may be a need for a digital version of the British pound while discussing if the collapse of crypto giant FTX should influence a decision to issue one. Although he initially thought there was no connection between the collapse of crypto giant FTX and the central bank's work on a CBDC, he said he understands the concerns. Over the past few days, I had a few comments both to the effect that the collapse of FTX shows that we need to get on and issue a digital native pound, and to the effect that FTX shows that we do not need to do so. The comments are justified as FTX in particular is emblematic of these new technologies and the possibility that they might revolutionize financial services and forms that money takes. And then he goes on to saying financial services and markets bill that could end up regulating crypto as financial instruments and give UK regulators, including the Bank of England, more control over the sector is being debated in Parliament. Under the framework, the BOE intends to regulate large issuers of payments-focused crypto assets like stablecoins. The central bank will kick off a consultation on stablecoins next year that will look at the requirements for corporate structure, governance, accountability, and transparency necessary to meet the standards expected in other parts of the financial system. And the FTX example underlines how important these aspects are. So problem, reaction, solution, right? And the BOE has also been exploring issuing a digital pound. The BOE's work on a digitally native pound is driven by trends in payments, including the reducing role of cash and more generally in the increasing digitalization of daily life. Our approach as regulators should be open, by which I mean we should be prepared to explore whether, and if so, how the necessary level of assurance equal to that in conventional finance could be attained. But we should also be firm that where it cannot, we are not prepared to see innovation at the cost of higher risk. There we go. And then he said here that someone from the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, said in its regulation sandbox, it is working with a firm on using blockchain for the issuance of bonds. So they're working on blockchain for the issuance of bonds. And it's such a huge market there. Mobile-focused blockchain CeeLo partners with Ethereum software firm Consensus. This partnership will allow for CeeLo to integrate with Consensus Infura infrastructure. And now let's go into the speech by John Cunliffe, Deputy Governor of Financial Stability of the Bank of England, and go into his speech on the reflection of the DeFi, digital currencies, and regulation. All right, so here's what he said. I had intended today to talk about the work of the Bank of England is doing with the Treasury, the FCA, on the regulation of crypto stablecoins, and our work on a potential central bank digital currency in sterling. That remains the bulk of what I will talk about today, but between beginning to draft these remarks and delivering them today, we have seen what is probably the largest and certainly the most spectacular failure to date in the crypto ecosystem, by which, of course, I mean the collapse of the crypto trading platform FTX and most of its associated businesses. So I thought it might be worthwhile to start with a brief look at the FTX implosion to frame some of the points I intend to make on regulation of the use of crypto-related technologies to provide financial services, and on why, as a central bank, we are actively exploring the issuance of a digitally native pound sterling. See, problem, reaction, solution. The FTX was probably used as a sacrifice, and now they're able to build this urgent regulation narrative and put more stringent regulation coordinated globally and have an excuse to do it. So untangling exactly what happened at FTX will no doubt take a great deal of time, effort, and investigation by the relevant authorities. For anyone interested in the scale of the challenge, I can only recommend a quick read of last week's bankruptcy filing. But while we will not know in full how it happened for some time, there do appear to be some general themes that are very familiar to those who regulate and supervise conventional financial firms and financial instruments. So let's pull it up. All right. So then he goes into basically three kind of common themes. One, he first off starts talking about like the backstory, what happened with FTX and how the governance structure of it has every kind of effect to why it implodes. So you can see that the first are fundamental issues around how financial institutions should be organized. So the governance, by which I mean their corporate structure, governance, internal controls, and record keeping. Then it goes into how unbacked crypto assets are highly volatile, given that they have no intrinsic value. They are subject to runs and their value can change very quickly, as we have seen in recent months. Moreover, a firm accepting its own unbacked crypto asset as collateral for loans and margin payments, as there are indications may have happened with FTX, creates extreme wrong way risk. And moreover, protection of client funds is crucial. And many of these platforms, the platform takes possession of the cryptographic keys and manages transactions on the ledger for a pool of assets. Then it goes into how crypto was born in an unregulated space, and the experience over the past year has demonstrated that it's not a stable ecosystem, and that regulation can play a role into making it a stable ecosystem. So against that background, the question more pointed now following the collapse of FTX is whether we should bring the financial service activities and the entities that now populate the crypto world within the regulatory framework, and if so, how? So first and obvious reason why is they need to protect consumers and investors. The second reason is they need to protect financial stability. And the third is that they should not wait until it is large and connected to develop the regulatory frameworks necessary to prevent a crypto shock that could have a much greater destabilizing impact. And the third reason is for forecasting the direction and pace of technological innovation is an even more uncertain game than economic forecasting. Promising technologies fall by the wayside, unexpected ones flourish, and technologies combine in ways that cannot be anticipated. But the technologies that have been pioneered and refined in the crypto world, such as tokenization, encryption, distribution, atomic settlement, and smart contracts, not only seem to unlikely go away as our everyday lives become more digital, but may well have the potential to improve in efficiency, functionality, and reduce risk in the financial system. It goes on to say a potential example of this is the integration of functions and smart contracts that I mentioned earlier. A possible use case for such integration, which has been pioneered in the DeFi world, is the combining of functions of trading, clearing, and settlement of tokenized financial assets into a single instantaneous contract rather than being carried out in sequence by 3 separate institutions over a number of days. All right, so then it keeps going here and it says, finally, let me turn to our work with the Treasury on CBDC, or to put it more plainly, the issuance by the Bank of England of a digitally native pound sterling. Our plan remains to issue a consultative report around the end of the year, setting out the next steps that we propose. Over the past few days, I've had a few comments both to the effect of the collapse of FTX and whether they should issue a digital currency. They say their work on a digitally native pound is driven by the trends we now see, both specifically in payments, including the reducing role of cash, and more generally in the increasing digitalization of daily life. First, that in a world in which new tokenized forms of money emerge enabled by new technologies, we remain able to ensure that all forms of money that circulate in the UK are robust, interchangeable without loss of value, and denominated our unit of account, the pound sterling. And then second, to ensure that there can be competition and innovation in the development of new functionalities using tokenized money. And then he goes into kind of wrapping it up. The first concern is primarily for central banks charged with ensuring the stability of money in the economy. The second is more of a concern for government. And of course, there are other motivations such as financial inclusion and resilience. I do not have the time to go into those in detail today. And in any event, I do not wish to preempt the report on the next steps for this work that we in the Treasury intend to issue soon. But I do want to emphasize that this work and any future decision to introduce a digitally native pound should not be seen in the context of the status quo, but rather in the context of how current trends in money, payments, and technology might evolve. And above all, in this, as in the work of regulation that I discussed earlier, our aim is to ensure that innovation can take place, but within a framework in which risks are properly managed and which safeguards the sustainability of such innovation. The events of last week provide a compelling demonstration on why that matters. Thank you. There we go. Problem, reaction, solution. It's right there. So as you can see, things are heating up. We're going to see a lot of stuff being unraveled in December. This could have been the grand finale with FTX. Maybe there's a little more fallout, but usually with the change of the year, we have a change of sentiment, change of price, and change of market structure, I mean. So we're going to have to see how it all plays out, but we know what to look for, right? We see what is going on. We see the initiatives being taken place, the central bank digital currencies. We've seen the fallout happen. We know regulations coming. We know there's a couple of hearings coming up in December, and it's very interesting times. The grand finale is underway, so get yourself prepared. So if you're not already, come join the Discord. It's fire in there. Come say what up. Link will be in the bio. I'll say what up too.